Wilson lives and works in the heart of New York City. When he's not managing his money, he spends his time as an avid patron of the arts. He's on the board of the New York City Opera and enjoys shop talk with General Director Beverly Sills as much as stock talk with his brokers. Some of the great investors do better out of New York. John Templeton lives in his flower garden in the Bahamas, and Warren Buffett lives in Omaha, Nebraska, and both of them say that living out of New York keeps them out of everyday gossip and the hurly-burly of flow of overload of information. How do you survive in New York?
Well, in the first place, I would be bored to death simply living in either the Bahamas or Omaha, and so the most important thing is to enjoy life. But secondly, I never really did all that well in the market until I came to New York. Unlike these other distinguished gentlemen, I am not an original thinker. I tend to rely on other people to feed me, if you will, ideas. And I'm very interested in what a lot of other people are thinking. And more bright people are in New York in this business than anywhere else. I think the difference really is that they are original thinkers and I'm not. I'm a derivative thinker.
A lot of people say you can't beat the stock market consistently, and certainly a lot of money managers say the stock market has beaten them, but you have beaten the market, and very consistently. What's the principle that you've used to do this?
My philosophy is basically to invest in stocks where earnings are growing rapidly at the time when I'm investing in them. Conversely, to short stocks where earnings are contracting rapidly or where the earnings are illusory for one reason or another. I lead a rather placid personal life. It's been a quiet, pleasant life. And the market provides to me the excitement and drama. I like to be in things that have great potential for huge gains, or in the case of shorts, great potential for losses. I often tell brokers who give me ideas, I say, I'm not interested in buying it if it can't go down 30%. I'm not interested in stocks with limited downside risk. If the downside risk is limited, then the upside potential is probably also limited. So part of it is a way of getting vicarious excitement out of an otherwise rather placid life.
Well, how do you find the companies that have the rapidly growing earnings?
Well, I really rely on brokers to call me. I give a lot of money out in commissions, and I tend to sit at my desk waiting for people to call me.
But rapidly growing earnings, those companies are prizes. They are scanned for by computer screens. Emerging growth mutual funds look for them. Isn't this quality already reflected in the price of each of those stocks?
Maybe I can refine what I said. The only way one makes money in the market is when the market's perception of a stock changes. So basically, I am looking for stocks where perhaps the earnings have not started to improve yet, or if they have started to improve, they are going to accelerate. There has to be an improved perception of that particular stock and that company to make money. So you're absolutely right about that. To buy a stock simply because earnings have been going up 30% a year for the last 3 years, and to just do that on a rote basis could be a very good way to lose money fast, because when the earnings slow down, the stock could easily go down.
Tell me about the short side. That's what characterizes you as a little bit unusual.
Yes, about the short side.
Well, first, we better tell people who don't know what that is.
Well, and when one buys a stock long, one buys a stock and then later sells it. In the case of a short, one sells the stock first and then buys it later. Now, how can one do that? Well, let's say you are bullish on IBM and you own some IBM stock, and you think it's going up in price, and I think IBM's going down in price. I say to you, let me borrow your stock and I'll pay you for borrowing it, just as I would have to pay you if I borrowed your money. And I will borrow the stock and I'll return it to you at some future date that we would agree on. And so I will go out and sell it. And if it goes down, I will make money because I can buy it back and return it to you at a profit. If it goes up, you're the one who makes the money and I lose money.
So you would sell a stock at 50 and buy it back at 25, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes.
Later. Haven't you had an experience on the short side that was at least chastening?
Yes, indeed. During the 1970s, when the stock market was by and large going down, I shorted, I would think, 1,000 different stocks, and may have been wrong about 5 times. I mean, I was almost godlike in my ability to pick shorts. And you know it happens to gods who inhabit earth rather than the heavens. They begin to think that just because they short a stock, it will go down. And this happened to me in the case of Resorts International, which I shorted because I did not think Atlantic City would amount to anything as a gambling center. And the earnings came in, and I was just so sure that because I had shorted it, I would be right. It was hubris sort of run riot, and it's a very human thing, and it happens to all of us. And I think it particularly happens on Wall Street. We tend in this business to be terribly right for a while, or terribly wrong. And no matter how often we have been wrong in the past, when we have a period when we are right, it's so wonderful, and we think we're so good.
Well, what happened?
And, well, I lost a great deal of money, and I made the front page of the Wall Street Journal. I'd often aspired to make the front page of the Wall Street Journal, but not quite in the role that I made it.
If a young person came to you today, just out of college, and said to you, when I'm your age, I want to be as rich as you are, or where you are today, how do I do it? What would you tell them? Money
in the abstract, not what money will buy, but money in the abstract has to be the most important thing in the world. It is not the most important thing in the world to the vast majority of talented people.
Do you have an end object in mind in your investing career?
Yes, to make $1 billion.
Really?
Yes. I'm not at all sure I'll be able to do it, but I'm going to try. It isn't really so important that I do it. The important thing is to try to do it.
I think you can see that as different as these 3 remarkable investors are, they have some traits in common. They have independence of mind. They're not afraid to act alone when the crowd's going the other way. They trust their own perceptions. They stick to the style they know, and they are all smart. They all probably would have succeeded at anything they turn their hands to. And finally, and most significantly, after decades of investing, they still find it so much fun they can rarely stand to do anything else.